NCIS is really heating up in its 19th season. We have some amazing storylines coming up, and we have no clue what is about to happen. One thing for sure is that the long-lasting character of Gibbs is seemingly going to die in this latest season. Today, we will discuss Gibbs's death confirmed in NCIS Season 19. Here's why. First up, what is NCIS? NCIS is a long-running TV show based around detective and police work. The show has been going on for 19 seasons now and has made many stages throughout its time on air. At first, the show was very popular, but over time, the show has lost viewership due to storylines people didn't agree with and some main characters leaving the show. The majority of the original cast has left throughout the years, only leaving a handful of characters who are either regulars on the show or only appear now and then. Despite this, the show is still pretty popular and gains enough viewership to stay on the air. Next up, who is Gibbs? Gibbs is the main character we will be discussing today, but for those who don't know who he is, let's talk about him. Gibbs is one of the only characters to have stuck with the show since its inception. He's been a main character for the vast majority of the show's lifespan and has only recently been moved to a recurring character. He may not be the focus of the show anymore, but he still has some big roles throughout the latest seasons. He's involved in the plot and the sort of character the others use for guidance every now and then. He was announced to only be in a handful of episodes this latest season, and people weren't exactly happy about it. But why? Next up, why is Gibbs so important to this show? The main reason why people weren't exactly happy about Gibbs not being in the show so much is that he has been the driving force of the show from the beginning. He has always been a huge fan favorite amongst the community, and he is the main reason people still stick with the show. The vast majority of the original cast have either left the show or have died on screen. This means that Gibbs is one of the only original characters left from NCIS, and him being moved to a character who only shows up once in a while means that NCIS will have basically nothing of its original identity left. The show will probably lose even more of its viewership if Gibbs leaves the show, so we might not have NCIS for much longer. What has been going on around Gibbs? Gibbs has had many different storylines over the years, but these past few years have been interesting for the character. They have seemingly been leading up to his departure from the show for years now. He had a storyline where he nearly died, and this has happened multiple times. They're always teasing the death of this character because it increases viewership if they market the show around the possible death of Gibbs. The fate of this character has been moving around a lot over the years, and fans just want an answer to the future of the character. Is he going to die, or is he just going to leave the show? What's the answer? If he is going to leave, it needs to be done in a greater way. He is the heart and soul of the show, so fans want a good goodbye for him. Next up is, how is Gibbs supposed to die? The death of Gibbs has been on the table for years now. We know it's going to happen at some point because the writers are always throwing it in the face of the audience. Whether it's a random fake death scene or a well thought out plotline, it's going to happen. The recent outing into Gibbs's supposed death was when his boat blew up in the recent season of the show. Gibbs was out on his boat on his own when the thing went and blew up. The audience thought that was the end of him because he was floating in the water with no movement. The character then sprung into action and swam away. We get a scene of Gibbs getting out of the water, and he has a clear injury in his chest. A piece of wood is stuck in his chest and he collapses into the water. We don't know if he is dead right there, and even the writers are leaving it up in the air. But it's most likely this will be the end of the character in some shape or form. Next up is, what is the purpose of killing Gibbs? The main thing people are asking about is, what's the purpose of killing this beloved character? The show has evolved a lot since the first few seasons where the main cast were all together. People have come and gone from this cast, and Gibbs is one of the only ones left from the original group. The others are either dead or left the force for some other reasons. The main reason to kill Gibbs is to give the actor a leave. Mark Harmon, who plays Gibbs, is now 70 years old. Though he may not want to retire from acting altogether, he's been playing this character for decades now. He obviously has love for the role, but an exit for the character would be great for him. The death of Gibbs is mainly for this purpose, and also to let other characters take center stage in the plot of NCIS. Next up, we have, will we see Gibbs leave the show forever? The thing about this death is that we have seen it before in the show. Characters have been killed off, but have appeared in the show in other ways. Even if we see Gibbs die, it's not like he will be gone forever. The character has made such an impact on all the current characters in the show. He is like the group leader who people turn to if they need help. Gibbs has always been a leader in the show, and even if he dies, he will still stick around in other ways. There are other things like flashbacks that we could see in the near future if he does indeed die. Things are always up in the air when characters die, so we will have to wait and see. Next up is what is going to happen without Gibbs. So the future of this show can go in two ways. Without Gibbs, the viewership of this show will surely drop, and the writers know this. The network will probably keep the show going for as long as it can, because even the name NCIS brings in viewership, no matter what it is. Gibbs is the main character people care about in the show, especially those who have been watching since the early days of NCIS. Without him, the show won't be the same anymore. And in fact, it hasn't been the same for a while now. The show will have an interesting future ahead of itself if they do get rid of the character. Time will tell if this show is going to stick around much longer. Next up, will NCIS survive without him? Without Gibbs, we could see this show beginning to end. It's been going on for 19 seasons now, and you can tell things are getting stale. They have done almost everything in the books for a show like this, and when they introduce new elements, it doesn't always go well with the fans. Of course, the show has a dedicated viewership, but that doesn't mean it's enough for the network to keep it around. The death of Gibbs will be a big episode in the show, and it will obviously have a higher viewership because of the subject matter. After the death and the end of that season, the show will probably steadily decline as it goes on. Without Gibbs, this show might only get to season 20 and then have its end in 21. And finally, we have audience reaction. The final part of this list will be the audience's reaction to the possible Gibbs death. The word Gibbs was trending all over social media, and the clip from the episode was all over the place. People are very torn on what's going on right now, and some just don't really care. Lots of the NCIS fan base have left over the past few years due to so many characters leaving and so many uninteresting new ones being added. This show just isn't what it used to be, and you can tell from the fan reactions. The death of Gibbs will be all over the place, and is surely to get lots of attention on the show. Gibbs is the fan favorite character, and seeing him go will be a sad one for the audience. And that is the end of this video. Gibbs will be missed in NCIS, and his confirmed death may be something to either revitalize the show or dig its grave. We will have to wait and see what the future holds for NCIS. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.